Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.
More. I need you more. Like air to breathe.
I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on My Global Mind, I'm pleased to be speaking with Italian guitarist Marco Mattei for the release of his second solo album, Age of Fragility, on May 16th. Welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I love the album. Great stuff.
I'm happy to hear you liked it.
Yeah.
It's quite different from what's coming out nowadays,
Mhm.
so you never know.
No, I think it's a really great album filled with tremendous moments of light and shade. It's quite a ride, and it's an enjoyable ride too.
It's great to hear.
For the album, did you find yourself creating something special in terms of songs and lyrics and then carrying it through to the hardship theme? Or was there a preconceived concept going in that this would be related to that?
Mm. It was actually a preconceived concept,
Hmm.
and I think after I released my first album in 2021, that was actually recorded before, right? But after I published it in 2021, we were in the middle of the COVID time, right? And so there was I think, a strong feeling of um, fragility among all of us, and things that we gave for granted all of a sudden exposed themselves as being fragile. And also, I think there were during and after a lot of implications on the mental health of people.
Sure.
So I think that's the general theme that inspired different songs. So the songs were all written with that um, concept in mind, and
Mhm.
talk about different implications and different situations that reflect that concept.
Yeah. How did you approach translating these complex emotions and what was going on in view the world into music?
This is actually a quite difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
While typically I go in a very structured way about defining a concept and then writing around it,
Mhm.
then the specific songs come up in different ways. Sometimes from music, sometimes from um, um, events, personal events, or things I hear about or read about that inspire a story, and then to
Mhm.
write about it as long as it fits. Sometimes songs come out very quickly. Sometimes they take a long time to define, refine. You go back, and so I think it's difficult to answer that question in a unique way. One thing that for sure for me was different in this album compared to the past is my main instrument is guitar,
Mhm.
but I think except for one song, all the album was written on
Oh,
piano and
wow.
keyboards. So I think the um, intimate nature of the topic, I
Right.
don't know, led me more towards piano and keyboards to write it.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I could see that happening. Absolutely. Do you, the lyrical messages, now we're talking about the hardship lyrical message. It seems to be an integral driver of the song and the tone of the song, the speed of the song, the feel of the song. Was that the way you composed it? Maybe the lyrical first, or was it done all on the piano and then you backfilled it with the lyrics?
Um, it depends. I mean, songs were composed in a different way. As I mentioned before, for some of them, lyric came first,
Mhm.
and for some others, music came first. But the overall mood and the story was already there when either music or lyric were composed.
Mhm.
So I think that what may give that feel an impression of, consistency in the song. Because again, independent of whether music or lyrics were written first, there was already a concept.
Yeah. And interesting question. Is it easier to write a happier song, a happier melody, than it is to write maybe a little darker song about the hardships? Did
I
they,
think it
which
depends.
ones bubble up to the top? And yeah,
Yeah, yeah, right.
yeah.
I think it depends very much on how you feel.
Mhm.
And if the general mood you are in and the reflections you have are more on this reflective and sadder kind of angle, then I think it's more spontaneous to write that way. And if
Yeah.
you're in a happier moment of your life or you have happier thoughts that pervade you, then it's easier to write an happier song. For me personally, in general, it's easier to write this kind of songs rather than, kind of happier songs.
Do you
But
feel that at the end, that I got the impression that at the end, there's still hope? At many of the end of these songs, there's still some hope going on despite these hardships. And I think that message carried through. Is that the case? Did I understand correctly?
no, I think so. I think, if there wasn't hope, there wasn't need to write.
Right.
I think personally, at least, I think a, a hopeless song doesn't have a sense to be. Um, I think also fragility per se has two sides of it. I mean, it's scary, and it's temporary, right? But
Yeah.
it's also human, right? And I think in the past, um, especially in the Western culture, we after maybe the 50s or 60s, our expectancy increased a lot. The general wealth of Western country is good, so people expect to live a good life and have no issues. Most people, right?
Of course.
And I think some of the events were a big reminder for all of us. But also, again, that's a good side of it. I think a lot of us discovered the humanity
That's true.
in in the people we live around. So I think that's a positive aspect, and also is part of this hopefulness that you're
Yeah.
talking about.
And I think you have to have that. You have to go through dark to get to the light. And I think that's important. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. How would you recommend that your fans listen to this? In what perspective, in what sense, and what should they take away from it?
Um, So even though nowadays very seldom people listen to a full album,
Mm.
that would be my ask of the fan. Listen to it as a whole, not as a collection of songs, because that's how it was thought.
Mhm.
Um, and then us listen to it multiple times, because the effort is to have an album that can be listened to different levels,
Right, right.
both lyrically and musically. Also, the music is arranged, so to say, in layers. So the objective is to have something that is interesting and has something new to reveal every new time you listen to it.
Yeah. No, that's great. One of my favorite songs, and before we came on camera, you had asked me, and I'd tell you, wrong. Beautiful song about a breakup. Was there somebody that inspired it? Was it autobiographical?
No, the song is actually about a, toxic relation and what do you call some emotional dependency.
Mhm.
Um, and I lived 16 years abroad, but 2 years ago I moved back to Italy,
Mhm.
and there were a lot of news about feminicide. Is that the right word in English?
What was it called?
um, male killing women,
Oh yes, yeah,
feminicide.
yeah, yeah.
And a lot of these stories were about emotional dependency, so some sort of distorted relationship. So it is the story of a breakup, but it's a story of this kind of relationship. And the idea was to create some contrast between an apparently mellow and classic 6/8 kind of nice um, melody and harmony, but then as the song builds up, it becomes more distorted, indicating this kind of
Tension.
tension. Yes. So I think it's kind of in. At least my intent was to make it interesting by creating this context of this kind of relationships that at the beginning may look very very nice.
Mhm.
But then creating this emotional dependency have negative impact on people and can lead even to something more tragic.
Yeah.
Um, there's a dialogue in the background at the end that is taken
Yes.
from a short movie,
Oh,
which is actually about this topic. In the video, in this short movie, actually the girl realizes the nature of the relationship, and she um, succeeds in breaking the relationship. So to your point, there's hopefulness that even though you may fall in this kind of problematic relationship, there's always a way out.
that's great. The other one I really liked was Insomnia because you talk about the context of the songs. It starts off very ethereal. It starts off very dreamlike state. And then it goes to this tremendous rhythmic experience and it really builds and grows. So the beginning and the end are almost sound like two different songs, but very well constructed and put together and taking you through a journey. And I really like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that was actually exactly the intent.
Mhm.
One of the things that came up in this whole COVID situation was that, night and day started being a little bit confused and people
Yes,
started suffering from insomnia, right?
yes,
Because,
yes,
yeah, let's
absolutely.
binge watch something else, and I wanted to write a song about it. That's the only instrumental. There's,
Mhm.
some spoken words, but
Right.
it's not sung. And so the idea was to start with something that would recreate the mental state of somebody trying to relax and to get asleep. But then this kind of thoughts come up and you start thinking and you don't get asleep. And it's creates some tension and some nervousness that are transferred through a 5/4 odd kind of
Yeah.
signature. And that's one of the songs that I think took a slightly different um, um, arrangement and dynamic, I should say, actually, not arrangement, when we were in the studio.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Instrumental give more freedom to musicians to to
Right.
span and experiment, and then with such a great musicians in the studio, it was nice. And then also, so in the studio, it was with Tony Levin and Jerry Marotta and my friend Duilio Gagliotto on keyboards. And then Jennifer Maidman, who used to play bass with a lot of artists, including Culture Club, and David Sylvian. She was in the studio visiting Jerry, and she has a beautiful voice. So I asked her to read some words on that. So it
Yeah.
was beautiful to have that impromptu collaboration. And finally, I think Tragan, who's the owns the label that is producing this record or publishing this record. I think he must have liked it because I asked him to play in one of the songs to contribute to one of the songs, and he picked that and he played war guitar on that. So it's full of great
Yeah.
musicians, and I think it comes out.
I was going to ask you about the spoken word and in some of the songs. Um, they were some like poems. It was interesting to find out Wrong was a movie. I didn't realize that. But the other ones were more like a poem. Tell me about the integration of that into your song. Because did you write those? Did it?
So all the lyrics in the songs are written by myself.
Mhm.
And to your point, there's two. Uh, I think it's just those two songs where there's some spoken words.
Mhm.
The first one is just the audio from that movie, and I contacted the author, and because she realized that the theme was in line with what she wanted to express, she was kind enough to
Yes.
allow me to use it. Regarding insomnia, I was thinking, how maybe it's just an instrumental, but I wanted also some words. And so I remembered that in a movie, it's Fight Club. There's actually a scene about insomnia.
Mhm.
So I freely took some parts of that. So that's not exactly the same, but it's very much inspired to that. And so in the studio, we picked some sentences and put them together. And there's a dialogue between the doctor and the patient that has suffered from insomnia, and that's what it is
Oh,
about.
that's great. That's great. Dream Theater did a big album just recently about all sleep disorders, which was pretty
Yes,
fascinating.
yes.
So I took this away as like really interesting aspect of, the sleep disorders and then insomnia you picked up on it. So I really enjoyed that part of it. You touched upon Tony and Jerry and working with them. Did you have to sit down with them and explain to them the concept behind this and say, listen, this is what I want to do. It's going to be a little darker. It's going to be a little, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And then they provided their insights and their musicianship and talents to it.
Yes. So, first of all, I came up working with them, or I ended up working with them because during my first album, you know, uh, I contacted Jerry. He played in a couple of songs, and all remotely. I never met him personally, but then he suggested to have Tony on bass, which of course was super
Yeah.
exciting for me. And he contributed as well in a couple of songs, so that was great. And this time, I wanted to be in the studio. I agreed with Jerry timeline and his contribution, and then Tony lives not far from there, so I
Mhm.
was lucky enough to have him not touring or doing other
Yeah.
things during that week, and so we could get all together in the studio. My friend Duilio and I, he's a really good piano and keyboard player. He plays in Italy with major acts, and we grew up together and played in bands when growing up. So we flew from Italy and we all met there. Coming to your question, the process was, yes, we spent probably, I guess, 5 minutes with me, uh, explaining the concept and what I wanted to achieve. Um, but then, so with this general background, but then the process was that I prepared demos for each of the songs. I provided lyrics and chords and structures, um, and the demo. So we listened every song. We listened a couple of times the demo,
Right.
clarified any questions, and then we just went. I guess, yeah, I can't remember of a time where I had to provide any specific indication before we started. We did a couple of takes, and then there was a little bit of conversation about, okay, is this the right direction? You want to do anything different? And then, very quickly adjusted and moved to the next one. So it was, I mean, as you can expect with that level of musicians, it was quite fast in 1 week. Actually, 5 days in the studio, we managed to record 10 songs.
That's great. You have two songs, Just Tired, End of the Line, clock in between 6 and 8 minutes. How often do you self-censor yourself from going too long into a song?
Um, Usually, I more the challenge is more the opposite
Oh, okay.
for me. So I write a song, then it's too short. It needs more breath. So typically I don't have that kind of issue. I think none of those songs were that long when we got in the studio.
Mhm.
But then the improvisations and the feel was good, so we went on and on. So they got longer, which
Yeah,
I loved.
yeah.
Just started as even two versions in the CD. One is the whatever 7-minute version, and then there's an 11-minute version, an extended version that keeps even going further
Oh,
on
yeah.
and becoming more ethereal, also almost meditative kind of mood. And so I was struggling with, shortening it or not. And then I decided, okay, I'll do a shorter version, 7 minutes, and then an 11 minutes longer
Interesting.
extended version.
That's interesting. I want to be respectful to your time. One last question. You in your career have always expended an extreme amount of effort and energy to seek the ultimate expression in a song, and it's clearly apparent in this album. Do you know what drives that artistic vision and that artistic work?
Now, this is a very deep question. I think the basis for every artist is just to express themselves, right?
Right.
But I think for me, beyond that, that's the fact that, there are some deeper thoughts and emotions that is difficult to express in words or any way to talk more explicitly about. So music and lyrics that sometimes are, more straightforward, but oftentimes in my case are more to be interpreted,
Mhm.
are a way for me to get out my thoughts and almost therapeutically, um, share with others. And the idea is that um, it happens not in my case, but more in general, very often that people read in other artists' songs something that resonates with them that was maybe not the original intention from the author, but it works. So I believe very much in that power. So again, I think it's two aspects. One is expressing and getting out emotions and feelings,
Like
and the
artist, yeah.
other is hoping that somebody can resonate with those and make them theirs.
That's a great response. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Listen, I want to thank you so much for your time today and all the insight you provided. It was really fascinating to hear it, and I really enjoy the album, and I wish you tremendous success with it.
Thank you very much for having me, Robert, and until next time.
Definitely. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.